So, now that Demo 5 has been out for over a month now, we can all agree that some decisions that they made weren't the best, to be exact, specifically card balancing, and that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video, about how Demo 5's card balancing was really messed up and how they can improve on that. Now, of course, there's bound to be some cards that are balanced, stuff like Hitmarker and Firecrackers I think were balanced, but other cards don't seem that way. So, without further ado, let's talk about how Demo 5's cards are a whole entire balancing mess. I'm going to be separating this video into the categories, being passive, active, and NRG. The categories are really easy to understand. Passive are the cards shown on screen currently that were either made in Demo 5 or reworked in Demo 5. Active are the ones shown on screen that were either made in Demo 5 or reworked in Demo 5. And swords we'll specifically be talking about are Ice Dagger and Wind Force. So, let's talk about the passive cards first. Now, of course, I feel like the first one I have to talk about is Slinger. And, oh boy, did they mess up on this one. Slinger is a card currently that has 2 stacks of cards currently available to achieve in-game. And when equipped, it makes it so that your slingshot directly pierces 1 level of defense to an enemy. And since there's 2 of these, this means that you can pierce 2 defense on a regular slingshot. Now, you can already see how this is an issue. Being able to pierce 2 full defense with a weapon that can't even pierce defense originally is pretty busted, but it makes it worse that Slingshot's max damage cap is 8, and that's easily achievable with the new demo plus Aggressor or Anti-Up, but it's much preferred with Aggressor because Anti-Up lowers the attack window. Now, what would I do to fix this card? I would get rid of one of the Slinger cards entirely. It does not need 2 copies currently in the game. Being able to pierce 2 full defense and enemies with 3 defense being able to easily go down with Power Shot, it's a whole entire balancing mess. They need to remove at least one of them, so then it's less of a mess, and enemies with 2 defense don't suffer as much. Blocktails really needs to nerf this card, as it's making Slingshot seem like the superior weapon type compared to literally everything. Even Sword is getting outclassed by Slingshot right now, which is really unfortunate considering that Sword used to be meta. And then you simply just have the Ball, which is just suffering with nothing right now, besides being the worst weapon type, and even the other category is better than it. Blocktails needs to seriously reconsider Slinger and Slingshot as a whole, because it isn't working out right now. Okay, moving past that, next we've got the Rocket Man, which in my opinion would honestly be underpowered if anything. Rocket Man is the same as Slinger, piercing 1 defense on your base rocket, but it doesn't do it for the splash damage, which is kind of weird, considering that Rocket's whole purpose is to lower defense as well. I just don't think Rocket Man is that great with Rocket. I don't see myself using Rocket Man in Rocket decks, mainly because it's just not worth it for the BP price as well. Like 3 BP, well, it used to be 2, now it's currently 3 BP for 1 defense pierce on the Rocket, when you can obviously just already lower their defense. It isn't worth it at all. My personal advice would be either to make it so that the splash damage also pierces 1 defense, or make it so that there's 2 copies, like Slingers. One of the Slingers gets replaced by another Rocket Man, because Slinger's already too good, so why not replace it with something that isn't too great but also benefits the card, because Rocket kind of needs it currently. Anyway, for this I will be deeming Rocket Man underpowered and Slinger overpowered. Now, for the last passive card that was actually added to Demo 5, we have Mega Rush. And yeah, this one's pretty underpowered, in my opinion. I wish they made multiple copies of the card instead of just having one, because it makes it very situational to use, because 1 HP is hard to achieve sometimes, just going for 1 HP specifically. But like, it also happens when you're in danger, which can make it reliable in some cases. Like, for example, if you have a high level of defense, plus, I would say, charge defense, then if you get to, like, low HP amounts, your rolling HP meter is going to be going down really slowly compared to everything else, which means that you can take optimum use of Mega Rush if you really want to. But other than that, there isn't really a use to it over Aggressor, which just gives you flat 1 damage, but makes it so that your HP meter doesn't roll, which makes them basically parallels to each other when I think about it. But other than that, it's pretty underpowered because you cannot use it to its maximum potential 99% of the time, and it's barely used in any decks. So, my final ranking will be underpowered for Mega Rush. Okay, now we're going to be talking about cards that got reworked within Demo 5. So this list includes Thorns, Safeguard, and Deep Focus. Any reworked cards I will most likely go over really quickly rather than staying by and chatting about them for like 2 minutes. So let's start with Thorns. Thorns' rework was that it got only 1 copy of it during this demo, so no more stacking Thorns, along with the fact that it replaced the -1 defense with a -20% guarding window, which in my opinion was a bad move. Well, maybe not the guarding window. I like the negative guarding window. It makes Thorns like a high risk, high reward card. But now ranged enemies also get the stun effect, so when you ever dodge their attacks, they end up taking damage depending on the level of stun that they have. But the way we could probably fix this is changing -20% guarding window into -10% guarding window, and add multiple copies back to make it more worth it. Okay, now we're going to quickly go over Safeguard. I think Safeguard is pretty balanced, because equipping 1 copy of the card basically means that you're at least going to be shielding 1 level of attack while blocking. But the more of this card you equip, the better it becomes when guarding. Like, simply guarding, not, like, parrying or, like, dodging completely. Which I think is good, because some people just can't dodge completely, so it means that they get to also take minimal damage while, you know, staying out of danger. Plus, it's way better than the original one that we had, because Safeguard only used to guard 10% per copy, and we only had 2 copies, so it was really bad. So yeah, Safeguard is deemed balanced. Okay, next we have Deep Focus, and if you saw my last video, the nerfs this thing got were awful. It was changed from giving 0.1 sword energy per copy to giving 0.05 sword energy per copy. And in my opinion, that was a horrible move because it just discouraged deep focus decks or revolving your deck around the 5 swords. While regular focus got buffed to 0.35, I think it was, it doesn't make it worth it when deep focus got nerfed, and wasting 4 BP just to get 0.2 sword energy, like, per focus, just doesn't feel worth it. So I would say deep focus at its current state is, like, a little underpowered. What I would change about it is probably giving it 0.075 sword energy or something like that. Just something that makes it worthwhile. Okay, we're 9 minutes into the video and I haven't even covered active and special cards, so expect some of these to be a little bit quicker than normal. So we'll start with active, and the first one I'm going to go over is Pack Tactics. Pack Tactics, in my opinion, is a pretty balanced card because it sacrifices some of your health to pierce full defense for your whole party, which allows it to like be invested into, and is especially good for stuff like Ball, where you need the rebound to deal more damage with, of course, it deals 1 damage at the end with the rebound if the enemy has defense. So being able to take that away and make Ball do more damage, or like any other weapon deal more damage to defense enemies, feels really nice. Of course, enemies that don't have defense won't struggle against this, but it's nice to have just in case your party's struggling with any form of defense and really wants it gone. So yeah, pack tactics, balanced. And also like pack tactics, I think Firecrackers is also really balanced, because it doesn't go, of course, the splash damage from the other Firecrackers going like adjacent to the enemies to them won't deal any damage against defense, which of course is kind of upsetting, but you can pair this with pack tactics to actually pierce that defense and do the full damage. So if you set up properly, you can make some nice firecracker combos. The fact that it also doesn't go past the defense of the other enemies makes it really balanced, considering that Slinger is just awful. So the fact that Slinger doesn't work with firecrackers and also encourages lowering the defense of your enemies directly is really nice. So yeah, deemed balanced. Alright, next up we have Bombardment, and there's not a lot to say about this one, except I feel like with Charge you could argue that this card is pretty overpowered, but I wouldn't say that. I would say it's pretty balanced, because it doesn't like directly pierce defense besides like the level 1 defense pierce, I think, because that rocket already just has that. But I wouldn't say it's the greatest either, because like it's like 2 to 3 damage, I think, which is kind of pathetic to all enemies, making it sometimes just a worse line bounce. But line bounce of course decreases in damage, while Bombardment doesn't, so you could probably argue that. I'd go for a little bit underpowered, and what I would suggest is that it could probably pierce full defense for 2 damage is probably my take on that. It's probably not a good take, but like, it's certainly mine. But yeah, I think Bombardment is a little bit underpowered compared to other cards that we got this demo. Next up we got Hitmarker, and honestly, I think it's pretty balanced. The only thing that I would change about it is making it so that multiple stacks of it increase the Ank's level effect instead of how long it lasts, to make multiple cards, or well, multiple copies of the cards useful and worth using, rather than just equipping one and saving 1 BP. Like, it would make people want to use multiple copies to gain more HP. But while that might be the case, my opinion doesn't change that Hitmarker is balanced due to the fact that it is still free HP, plus having a single target rocket that deals quite a bit of damage isn't bad. So yeah, probably balanced. Now, for the last card in the active category that is from Demo 5, we have Call Cassie, which before it was buffed, it wasn't that great. It was severe, like she was severely underpowered. Her healing wasn't the greatest, neither was like anything that she did, and I feel like they just didn't really try when making her call card, because she wasn't great at all in battle, and she was obviously outclassed by someone like Griefer, Cruel King, Calypso, who can either deal lots of damage, self-sustain, or help you out in battle, which Cassie was meant to help out in battle, but she doesn't really do it the greatest. But after her buff, I would say that she's tied for the best call card in the game, because of course Griefer's first. Well, tied for first. But I think the fact that the buff was so severe that it made her like one of the best call cards isn't a bad thing, but she might need a little bit of undertoning with that because she seems a little bit too strong with the heals right now. Charge, like, the damage up is okay, and she also applies defense up now, which is nice, but I think the heal just needs a little bit undertoning. So Cassie's probably like just a tiny bit overtuned, so that's my opinions on her. Alright, time for a speed round. We're gonna go through all the other active cards that got reworked in Demo 5 pretty quickly because this video is taking way too long. So we're gonna start off with Call Calypso. Call Calypso before her rework, not even a rework, her buff, didn't pierce defense with her flintlocks, but now she does. This was mainly because of the issues with the Ancients, I'm pretty sure, gaining 2 defense instead of their second phase. Good change, it made her good. Cure was changed to 1 BP and got -1 attack like it did before. This change was good because it means that it should be in more support decks now. Resurrect got the same treatment as Cure, getting -1 damage. But I think Resurrect needed this one because people were using Resurrect in damage builds, which I think was a good change from the devs to prevent Resurrect being able to be used in heavy damage builds. So this was a good change, and it made Resurrect more of a support card, which was needed. Power Shot and Slingshot, for that matter, were given different minigames, but harder to actually complete the minigames to get the maximum damage output, which I think was fair. Instead of spamming, we now have to time our attacks, which I think was good. Feel Fine was changed to 1 BP. This was by far the worst decision they've made, probably besides Slinger. It doesn't really make sense for it to be 1 BP, considering that it's an insane support card that can remove effects that are really painful to deal with. An example being slow. Call Blackrock King was also given a buff for Scepter Strike to pierce defense, which I think was unneeded because it already does 5 damage to my knowledge, which just means that it's going to be getting stronger and stronger, so I think just reverting it to like either half defense pierce or just no defense pierce is fair. Shovel was given an attack window increase, but in exchange it now only pierces half defense, which in my opinion was a good change. It means that anti-up doesn't entirely ruin the Shovel now with a skinny skill check. So it was fine by me. I think it should stay this way. Half defense pierce, like, is okay, I guess. It doesn't really affect too much, but like, Shovel's useful for the confusion anyway, so that's probably what I'm going to be using it for. Dynamite had its minigame changed to the same one as Slingshot, and my opinion basically remains the same. It was needed. Like, spamming just isn't a fun minigame. Instead, making it timing based is pretty good. So yeah, good change. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention in this recording, it got -1 damage, which I didn't like. Dynamite should be higher damage, if anything. Line Bounce's damage formula was changed, but I'm not sure what it was to. I know, of course, it descends in damage as you go along, Line Bounce, but I'm pretty sure it was given extra damage to the Line Bounce, which was probably good. In my opinion, Line Bounce is pretty lacking right now, especially with enemies with defense. But you can, of course, abuse that with Charge and Pack Tactics. So, I'm not sure how to feel about this. I think it was decent, though. I think it was a decent buff for the Line Bounce. And finally, we have Launcher. Launcher is interesting because after shooting the rocket, if you miss, you get exhausted for 1 turn, which makes you unable to attack. I think that was a horrible change because yes, while rocket is pretty easy to hit, if you miss it, you're just wasting out on a future turn, which I think is just awful from the devs. Being like failing an attack, like failing Sword just makes it so that you deal 1 less damage, but failing Rocket Launcher makes you deal nothing and you miss out on your next turn. It is pretty bad. Please revert this. And that was all the active type cards. Now we're moving on to NRG. aka the swords. This category mainly consists of the Ice Dagger and the Wind Force, which isn't all too much, so there's nothing much to talk about here, but I'll be going over both of them anyway. We will start off with the Ice Dagger, which to my knowledge, the only changes it got were when Demo 5 released, instead of recovering 20%, 10% of your SP, but having a minimum of 3, it was just 10% of your SP, no minimum. But I'm pretty sure they reverted it back to minimum of 3 SP, which I think was a good change, because getting a minimum of like 1 SP is not fair at all. So the fact that it got reverted, I think, was an amazing change that helps the Ice Dagger from being useless in low SP decks, especially early on in game, where you might be relying on Ice Dagger more in terms of sword NRG for like Demo 2 and Demo 3, where your SP amounts might not be that high because you struggle at dodging attacks when you start off, so you're investing more in HP. Okay, now we're going to talk about Wind Force on release, and yeah, it was not good at all. It was just a worse firebrand at the time that just, instead of applying attack down, it applied slow for 4 turns. While yes, slow is better than attack down, it wasn't worth it at all, because firebrand would also get chip damage in with the added effect of burning, while the Wind Force only got negative defense, I think it was. Yeah, subtracting 3 defense. But it did the same damage as the firebrand, meaning that it wasn't worth it to use at all. The buffs that the Wind Force got was an increase in damage to 6 damage, which helps it set it apart from the firebrand just by 1, making it worth its price for both the damage and the added effects. However, some might still consider this a little bit underpowered, considering its price of 3 sword energy, and with the nerfs that Deep Focus got, it's going to be hard to reach 3 sword NRG intentionally without having to use Ice Dagger, Ghost Walker, or Firebrand for extra chip damage, if you ever need it, or just extra support in general. So I feel like it could use maybe just a little increase in something. Like, I'm not sure what it would be though. Maybe give like Dazed or something for like 2 turns as well. I don't know, this isn't really what I want. I just feel like people will consider it still kind of inferior to the Firebrand in a way, because it's expensive, but still technically deals less damage than the Firebrand if you think about it. It's weird, but it's just kind of there. Like, the Wind Force currently is a decent option if you have the sword energy to use, but some people don't and just immediately skip to the Firebrand or the Ice Dagger for either attack or support. So that's the end of this video. Yes, this video is very long compared to the last one I did, over 2 times the length actually. But I hope, if you made it to the end somehow, I hope it was worth watching. Goodbye.